Hello and welcome to a new video. And today I want to try something a little different. Got a new setup going. Got new ideas and stuff. I've just been taking a brief hiatus, but I'm back. I'm ready to make some videos. So today I thought, what a better way to celebrate. Well, I mean, this is a month later, but in my video contribution to Ratchet and Clank's 19th anniversary, let's count down my top 10 Ratchet and Clank bosses. First of all, there will be spoilers in the video, and second of all, no final bosses, because I got a list coming that counts down those. So, let's hop right into it, at number 10.
Let's get it on!
At number 10, we have one of my favorites, the Blorgian Snagglebeast from the first game. Yeah, I know, not a good pick, but it's one of my favorites, being one of the most iconic bosses of the series, and probably the first major plot point in the series, with Ratchet and Clank being tricked by Captain Cork and being forced to fight it. I know it's a really easy boss, but it has a unique attack cycle, to where after you attack it, you have to lure it onto bridges to sink it in the lava, which I think is actually something kinda cool, but I know it's really not. And it's also a really easy boss, but it was pretty cool that they brought this guy back into the 2016 reboot. And quite frankly, I know there wasn't many bosses in the first game, but they could have chose from sequels, in my opinion, and he's the only boss to come back, other than the final one, which isn't direct, but it's Nefarious, but whatever. Anyways, let's move on to number 9.
Let's get it on!
Number 9 has to go out to Chainblade. Chainblade. Yeah, I know, another kind of underwhelming pick, but he's one of the most iconic characters in the series, in the community at least, even though he is just a mini-boss and going commando. He'll attack you by throwing his chain blades at you, and apparently he's a good chef in the kitchen, so that's pretty nice. Quite unfortunately, he does go down pretty fast, but it is a pretty fun fight getting to jump and flip around to dodge his attacks. Another thing, they brought his skin for him back in Full Frontal Assault for the multiplayer mode, which is pretty cool and a nice homage to the character. But, let's move on to number 8.
Let's get it on!
Number 8 has to go to one of my favorite side characters in the series, Ace Hardlight. He was once a hero just like Ratchet or Captain Cork, but he fell victim to Gleam and Vox in Dread Zone, forced to fight and kill other heroes for money and fun. He's built up through nearly halfway through the game, and he is a pretty fun boss fight, forcing you to keep moving by firing a projectile that locks onto you, turning into clones, and regenerating health. Now, unfortunately, unlike Chainblade, he wasn't brought back into a game for like a skin or something, which is kind of unfortunate, but that's all I have to say about Ace Hardlight here. Let's move on to number 7.
Let's get it on!
Number 7 has to go to Britney Spears, Courtney Gears, who is a parody of Britney Spears of Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal, singing a pop song about Dr. Nefarious' plan to destroy all the life forms in the galaxy, which is just hilarious. She became one of the most iconic characters in the series as well. In her boss fight, she'll jump from cage to cage, and she'll send out her background dancers to try to kill you, which I think it's pretty cool. It kind of confuses the player, trying to find out which cage she's in to shoot her. But eventually, she'll come out and start attacking you by throwing blades at you, energy blasts, and even spinning around like her background dancers in kind of like a tornado. She unfortunately goes down pretty easy, but all in all, it's a pretty fun boss fight, and it has a really good OST.
One disposable pop star disposed.
Let's get it on!
Number 6 has to go to my favorite boss in a crack in time, other than the final boss, of course, the Hypersonic Brainwave Scrambler. This is my favorite boss because it's Clank's first legit boss, not counting the game's secret agent Clank. As using Clank's new time powers and acquired Chronoceptor, you chase him down and throw time bombs at him, doing damage to him. Throughout the fight, he'll put a shield on and send out enemies after you and throw hypersonic blasts that you have to dodge and throw back at him if you want to. Once again, unfortunately, he does go down pretty easy, but this fight makes me miss Clank's kinda more enhanced gameplay, and I wish it'll come back in a sequel after Ripped Apart.
Let's get it on!
Alright, so we're at the halfway point. And to kick this off, we have the Kerchief Robot from Tools of Destruction. This boss fight is so awesome and my favorite in the game, but there is one better than this, and my second favorite, but I put him higher up on the list because he's such a cool and iconic character compared to this one. But, as I said, this boss fight is awesome. And before it, you have an epic grind rail chase where he tries to kill you, he shoots missiles at you, and when you eventually complete the grind rail, you get to him, you start on a gravity ramp, upside down, which he has less attacks, they do a lot of damage. And if he takes out all 4 sections, we force to fight him on the regular side, with the boss getting really, really hard. But it is a really good boss fight in my opinion, and like I said, my favorite in the game, as the level is just so epic and has so many set pieces. It was really good for the time, and looking back it's not as impressive compared to Ripped Apart, but it's probably the best looking level in the game. But let's move on to number 4.
Let's get it on!
Number 4 has to go to another iconic character, Angella Cross, aka the Thief. Angella Cross is a female Lombax, which is what Ratchet is, if you didn't know. In the boss fight, you start out on a truck, and you move on top of it, you fight her, and then you move on and on. This was probably the most impressive thing in the game, showing a lot of technical power and prowess in the PS2. Plus, Angella went on to become a really good and well-written character in my opinion, as she's my favorite side character Lombax compared to Alistair, who I really don't like. But throughout the fight, you chase her down in a series of trucks and vehicles, and then you get to her and fight her in an arena by a rocket. But, with all that said, let's move on to number 3.
Let's get it on!
Number 3 has to go to probably the most iconic villain other than Dr. Nefarious and Ratchet and Clank. I'm talking about Captain Slag, the space pirate from Tools of Destruction. Now, I know I said that the Kerchief Robot was my favorite boss in the game, but Captain Slag is an actual character and not just a giant robot, as he has a really cool design, has really funny and written dialogue, and other than Dr. Nefarious, he's the only character to come back in another game. Well, another villain character anyway. But the boss fight has you going around and shooting him, obviously. Move around, he'll do blasts, he'll shoot fire at you, he'll do shock waves. He fires a blast at you that chases you just like the Ace Hardlight fight in Tools of Destruction. And throughout the fight, he'll send space pirates after you, which go down pretty easy, but it's still a really, really good fight. But with all that said, let's move on to number 2.
Let's get it on!
Now, I know for Slag, I said he is the only villain to come back in another game, but not in the same game. Well, yeah, but you get me my point. But for this case, I'm talking about Lord Varsalon, Dr. Nefarious' lackey from A Crack in Time. He has a really cool and badass looking design and, quite frankly, kinda creepy. He comes back multiple times in the game, and you can even finish him off if you collect all 40 Zonies throughout the galaxy, which is a really, really cool side bonus after beating the game 100%. After you beat him, you unlock this game's version of the Insomniac Museum, which is a really nice bonus at the end. But in the fight, he chases you down and uses attacks that Dr. Nefarious using up your arsenal, such as shooting missiles, firing lasers on the ground, shockwaves, and more. He even turns invisible, and you have to try to find them. Once again, he's a pretty easy boss, but he's a really, really cool character, and I always love when he talks. But that's all I have to say about Lord Varsalon. But with all that said, let's move on to my favorite Ratchet and Clank boss in the series that isn't a final boss anyway.
Let's get it on!
Number 1 has to go to Dr. Nefarious.
But wait, Skeller, you said no final bosses on the list.
Yeah, I know I said final bosses, but hold on, I don't mean him as the final boss, I mean the boss from A Rift Apart, where you fight Nefarious as the new character Rivet. But this isn't my favorite boss because of that, or because you're fighting Nefarious. No, it's because of the set pieces. After you hurt Nefarious a little bit, he'll send you to a different planet using the Dimensionator, which is awesome, and it's the only time this mechanic is used in the game since the intro, which is kinda sad when you think about it. Insomniac hyped up the game to make this happen all throughout it, but it only happened in 2 levels, and that's kinda disappointing. But you see a lot of planets and set pieces, you're on a grind rail, you fall from the sky. It's amazing. Plus, as usual throughout the fight, he does say a lot of funny dialogue like he usually does, because he's just a funny character. Plus, after you beat him, you get one of my favorite cutscenes in the game. Wow, Ratchet and Clank has a really great roster of bosses and characters. But, that's everything for today, so I hope you enjoyed the video in the top 10 list. If you don't agree with my opinion, leave me a comment and argue with me about it if you want. Also, tell me if you like the video or not, if you like the new format and everything. And, that's everything. So, I hope you all have a good day, stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, and take care.